What if you could step back in time to the 19th century? How different would the world be? Imagine a world on the cusp of transformation, a world where the old and the new are colliding in a whirlwind of change. Welcome to the dawn of the 19th century. This was an era marked by great change and transformation, a time when the world as we knew it began to morph into something entirely different. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, shifting the dynamics of society from agrarian to industrial, from rural to urban. The hum of machinery and the rise of factories began to dominate the landscape. Meanwhile, new political ideologies were staking their claim, ideologies that would forever change the face of governance and society. Ideas of democracy, socialism, and nationalism were taking root, challenging the established order and reshaping the world stage. The 19th century was a time of incredible innovation and upheaval, setting the stage for the world as we know it today. As we venture into the early 1800s, the world was on the brink of a technological revolution. The Industrial Revolution, a period of rapid industrial growth, was setting the stage for a new era. This transformative period marked a shift from traditional hand production methods to mechanized, steam-powered factories. One of the key inventions of this era was the steam engine. The steam engine, a marvel of the age, revolutionized transportation and industry. It fueled the growth of railways, making travel and trade faster and more efficient than ever before. The steam engine was not just a machine, it was the heartbeat of the Industrial Revolution, pumping energy into every corner of the world. This technological revolution had a profound impact on society and the economy. With the rise of factories came urbanization, as people flocked to cities in search of work. This shift had its challenges, including overcrowded cities and poor working conditions, but it also brought about economic growth and new opportunities. While the world was transforming technologically, it was also experiencing significant political changes. The Napoleonic Wars raged across Europe, reshaping the continent's political landscape. These wars were not just about power and territory, they also brought about social and economic changes that would echo throughout the century. The early 19th century was a time of great change, where old ways of life were being replaced by the new. The mid-1800s brought even more change, as nations grappled with the effects of industrialization and political upheaval. Let's delve deeper into this transformative era. Across the pond in America, the nation was embroiled in a bitter conflict, the American Civil War. It was a war that tore at the fabric of the American society, pitting the North against the South in a struggle over slavery and states' rights. The war took a heavy toll, but it also led to the abolition of slavery, a landmark moment in human rights history. Meanwhile, the relentless march of industrialization continued, sweeping across Europe and North America. This period saw a boom in manufacturing and transportation technology. Steam engines, railways, and factories sprouted up, altering landscapes and lifestyles. People flocked to cities, and the world became interconnected like never before. This was also a time of intellectual ferment. New political ideologies began to take shape, providing fresh ways of thinking about governance and society. Socialism, with its call for worker control of production, emerged as a response to the stark inequalities of the industrial age. Nationalism, too, gained traction, stoking the fires of unity and independence among peoples under colonial rule. By the mid-19th century, the world was a very different place, marked by conflict and rapid advancement. The wheels of change were turning faster than ever, and the course of history was forever altered. As the 19th century drew to a close, the world was poised on the edge of a new era. The late 1800s were a period of intense transformation, marked by significant events that would shape the course of the next century. One such event was the scramble for Africa. European powers, driven by the desire for new territories and resources, carved up the African continent amongst themselves. This scramble had far-reaching consequences, affecting the political and cultural landscape of Africa for decades to come. In the realm of technology, the invention of the telephone by Alexander Graham Bell in 1876 revolutionized communication. Suddenly, conversations could transcend the constraints of distance, connecting people across cities and eventually across continents. This technological marvel was a precursor to the interconnected world we live in today. Meanwhile, in the social sphere, the late 1800s witnessed the rise of the women's suffrage movement. Women in countries around the world began to demand their right to vote, challenging the established norms of their societies. This struggle for equality marked the beginning of a long and ongoing journey towards gender justice. However, alongside these developments there was a sense of anticipation and uncertainty. People were stepping into uncharted territory, and there was no telling what the new century would bring. The final years of the 19th century were a time of anticipation and uncertainty, as the world looked towards the future. Looking back on the 19th century, it's clear that this was a time of monumental change. In the span of a mere 100 years, the world transformed dramatically, setting the stage for the modern era we inhabit today. The dawn of the century was marked by the Industrial Revolution, a period of rapid technological advancement that fundamentally altered the way people worked, lived, and interacted with the world. From steam engines to telegraphs, the inventions of this era revolutionized communication and transportation, shrinking the world in unprecedented ways. The early and mid-1800s witnessed a wave of political upheavals, revolutions, and reforms. The struggle for democracy, human rights, and social justice took center stage, shaping the political landscape of the globe. The abolition of slavery, the suffragette movement, and the spread of democratic ideals were defining events of this era. The late 1800s, on the other hand, saw an explosion of scientific discovery and cultural innovation. Breakthroughs in fields like physics, medicine, and psychology expanded our understanding of the universe and ourselves. Meanwhile, the arts flourished, with luminaries like Charles Dickens, Vincent van Gogh, and Ludwig van Beethoven, leaving an indelible mark on human culture. The 19th century was a turning point in human history, shaping the world in countless ways and leaving a legacy that continues to influence us today.